So here we are back in Miss Carol's kitchen to check in on our eggs that have been sitting in corn syrup overnight. And so here we go. This is what the eggs look like now. I'm not sure how well you can see them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fish one of these out. Get my sleeves up here. And we'll take a look. So, yikes. I'm going to have this drip on a paper towel. So here's what the egg looks like now. So I'm not sure if you can tell the size difference, but I guess our measurements will do that in a few minutes. But as you can see, it's very saggy and soggy. It actually looks more yellow than it did before. My guess here is because we're looking a little closer to the yolk than what we were looking at before. It seems to be that there looks like less white or clear stuff that's present now. I'm actually going to take some tap water and just rinse off some of the corn syrup here because it's really sticky. I'm just being very gentle here because I don't want to break the egg. And again, that's why I have 2 eggs here. We're not treating the 2 eggs any differently. I just wanted to have a backup egg. So you can see that this looks almost like a bag, right? Like I can hold it like a plastic bag kind of thing. So I'm just going to set that down on the paper towel to dry. I'm going to take the other egg out and we'll observe that. So you can see actually the bits of eggshell are still white that we didn't get off with all the vinegar. You can see where this is very sack-like and it's quite saggy and soggy, and again more yellow than it was before. And I think that's just because we're looking at the yolk with less egg white or clear stuff, or cytoplasm, I guess, cytosol, if you will. And so I'm going to take some measurements of these, but before I actually do that, I just want to take some of this corn syrup and pour it into a little Tupperware container. And this is the corn syrup that the egg was sitting in overnight. This is corn syrup right from the bottle. Do you see the difference? I'm actually going to pour them out at the same time, and you can see how they differ. Aha! Notice that the corn syrup from the bottle is still very viscous. It's as viscous as it was yesterday. It's right from the bottle. But this is very watery. I wonder where that water came from. Can you guess? Meanwhile, here are our eggs. All right. I am just going to angle the camera down a little bit. We'll take some measurements. Not sure if that'll stay. No, that's a bad idea. You'll just have to watch my face while I make the measurements. Okay. Actually, there we go. So we're going to do length and width. This is egg number 1. Length and width for egg number 2. Okay, and I'm just going to pause this while I make those measurements. Okay, back again. Here are our measurements. So for egg number 1, I'm just going to compare that to the day before. So after the vinegar, but before the corn syrup, egg number 1 had a length of 66 millimeters. We can see it's gone down to 57. It had a width of 47.5. And so that has also come down, but not very much. I would imagine too that that's partially because the egg is squishier now. And so it has spread lengthwise versus widthwise a little bit differently. And for egg number 2, we did have a length of 63.5 centimeters. So again, a decrease. And its width was 51.5 millimeters. I mean millimeters. I'm saying centimeters. Sometimes I mean millimeters, like the tiny little tick marks on a ruler. And now this has gone down to what? 49.5. So in general, the egg has gotten smaller. So the question is, why? To answer that question, think about it. The membrane of the egg, like I told you, is semi-permeable. It is very permeable to water. it is not very permeable to solutes. So solutes are the things that are dissolved in water. In this case, it's a lot of sugar, glucose, fructose. So when you think about the actual corn syrup, the corn syrup is very, very concentrated with sugar, with solutes. So one might think, okay, there's a lot of solutes in here, and there are not a lot of solutes in the egg, or not as many. So you would think that sugar would move from the corn syrup into the egg. The problem with that is that the membrane doesn't really allow the solutes to move through. It's not very permeable to sugar. But if you think about sort of the flip side of that, think about it this way. The corn syrup, if it's high in sugar, what does that mean it's low in? And if the egg is low in sugar, what does that mean it's high in? Does that explain why the egg has gotten smaller in size and why the corn syrup seems runnier, right? So you're going to actually be answering questions on this on Thursday. We're going to post an assignment in Google Classroom. All of our measurements you'll be able to see in the Google Doc, also in Google Classroom, and I've just spilled distilled water all over me. So for the next step of this, I'm going to cover both of these eggs in distilled water. So if you don't know what distilled water is, distilled water just means that, oh, that's en français. Distilled water just means that all of the solutes have been removed. If you're trying this little demo at home and you don't have distilled water, that's okay. You can just use tap water. The difference is tap water does have some solutes in it. It has chlorine in it. It has some salts. If you're using well water, you'll definitely have some other salts and minerals in there. But that's okay, because here's the thing. If you're going to take measurements or just make qualitative observations, it would actually be kind of interesting to see if you get the same results using tap water or well water that I get with my distilled water. So here's what it looks like right now. Okay, we have sort of a soggy egg sitting in distilled water. So think about this now. Our egg on the inside of the membrane has some water, it has some solutes, but it's now sitting in a solution that is 100% water, H2O, with no solutes at all. So what's going to move and how is it going to move? Are things going to come into the cell, making it bigger, or are things going to go out of the cell, making it smaller? Okay, so we're going to check back in on these tomorrow and see what happens. Okay, see you then.